Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and selamat sejahtera kepada semua, to all my students. So hari ini kita akan continue our chapter, iaitu chapter number 5, which is animation. And first of all, kita akan tengok dia punya overview dahulu. So the overview for this chapter, what is it? Okay, the first one is introduction to animation. The second one is computer generated animation. The third one, what are the file format that used in animation, and number 4 is how to make successful animation. So I hope, before we go further, I hope you have the slides and just go through the slides as the time goes. Okay, as I explain from slide to slide, I hope you guys please refer to your slides and pay attention to what I say. Right? Introduction to animation. So animation is defined, okay, as the act of making something come alive. Okay, the act of making something come alive, meaning that first thing first, or the original things. Okay, animation is just a drawing, a single drawing, but if we put it one after another in a rapid speed, and it will sort of make the subject such as it's like alive. Okay, so that's why we say that animation is defined as act of making something come alive. Okay, and it is concerned with the visual or aesthetic aspect of the project. Okay, and of course, animation is an object moving across or into or out of the screen. Meaning that animation, just like I said before, just like I said earlier, it is not alive. Okay, maybe it's from just a drawing, just a single drawing, and then we have so many drawing, and we put it stack it one after another, and then we play it in the rapid speed. It is possible because of biological phenomenon known as persistence of vision, and a psychological phenomenon, or we call it just a fee. Okay, meaning that, okay, so we just call it fee, P-H-I, fee. And animation, a series of images rapidly change to create an illusion of movement. And like I just told you earlier, actually animation is a drawing, a lot of drawing that is stacked one after another. And when we play all the images in a rapid change, so it will create an illusion of movement, such as the image is alive, and maybe like a frog jumping. Maybe a frog, when we want to create an illusion of frog jumping from one place to another place, okay, maybe we need to draw 5, 6 or 7 different image of a frog with a different situation, right? And on the early days, how animation is created is basically the animator need to draw every single image. Meaning that if they were, let's say for example, at my hand, I look at my hand. So if I want to draw an animation from this to this, okay, maybe as an animator, I need to draw one image, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Meaning that I need to draw 7 different images. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So the more image that we can draw, meaning that the animation will be smoother, and we will smoother from one action to another action. Maybe I can just draw 1, 2, 3. Okay, but when the animation goes, or when we play the animation, it's jumping like that. So if we have more image, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, so the more image we have, the smoother the animation will be. And nowadays we can generate animation using a computer, okay, or we call it a computer generated animation. So animation can be rendered in 2D space, 2.5D and 3D space. So I'm just going to focus on 2D and 3D. Okay, so 2D space is very simple and static. The example of 2D animation such as Keluar Man, okay, Clongman, Usop Sontorian, what else? Inspector Gadget, and Mickey Mouse. Alright, and yeah, this is very simple and static. And yeah, you can see it back here. And the example of 3D space. Okay, of course, this animation is complicated and more realistic. So the example of 3D space animation, such as in our country, such as Bobo Boy, Agent Ali, and for kids, we can also watch such as Didi and Friends, what else? Alif and Sophia. There are a lot of examples. Okay? There are a lot of examples of 3D space. Yeah, you can see it at the back here. Some example of 3D space, 3D animation, and 2D animation. Just to make things more clear to you. There are so many techniques when we want to create an animation. So, but the things that needed in animation technique is such as what are the process, what are the cell animation and computer animation, and what are the steps and need to be followed when you are creating an animation. Right? Such as first thing first, you need to organize the execution of in a series of logical steps. And remember, when you want to create an animation, you need to organize the execution of the image. You need to organize the execution in a series of logical steps. Meaning that, for example, if you want to create an animation of fighting or jumping, so the most important part is you need to visualize in your head. You need to visualize how the real character act in the real world. For example, let's say you want to create the animation of punching from one character to another character. So let's say, so you need to imagine the real movement. For example, if I want to make a punch to another thing, so meaning that how my hand, let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So meaning that the movement of my hand, the movement of the hand in your animation must follow the logical step of punching. If you want to make your animation jumping from one place to another place, so you need to visualize what are the logical steps, how the knee bend, how before the real actor jumping from one place to another place, how the mechanism of their body. So that's why, and that's how you will create. After you can imagine, okay, if you want to jumping, let's say you want to jumping from one place to another place. So how the knee bend, okay, about the hip, and after they want to initiate the jump, and how the character will landing after the jump has been made. So you need to visualize and you need to organize it in a series of logical steps. And of course, and after that, after we have to visualize, you need to choose an animation tool best suited for the job. So there are so many tools for you guys to create an animation, such as Adobe Animate, and there are a lot of examples, and there are a lot of tutorials. You don't have to worry. Okay, so these things for me, I believe nowadays there are no such thing as you can't learn something new. So because the tutorial are so many, you can get a lot of tutorial outside, like in YouTube. Just name it, just focus on the tools that you want to use, and then you just look for tutorial to learn that. Cell animation technique. A cell animation is a technique which a series of progressively different graphics are used on each frame of movie film. Okay, cell animation. Cell animation is a technique which a series of progressively different graphics are used on each frame of a movie film. And of course, the term cell is derived from the clear cellular sheet that were used for drawing each frame. If you do remember, if you try to recall back, when I told you every movement Okay, before we have a computer generated animation, the animator need to draw every single image. Okay, every single image. I'm going to show you the example of cell animation, or maybe I can say this as a cell animation, meaning that the animator need to draw every single image of the animation. Okay, the most popular, okay, the most popular example that I always show my student is the flipbook animation. Okay, the flipbook animation. Okay, this is the example. Okay, you guys watch first.
This time, victory is mine. It's over. Take this!
Okay, so that's the example of the flipbook animation. You can see, right? You do realize how many images need to be drawn by the animator in order to produce that kind of animation. Okay, and the next thing, the keyframe. The keyframe. Remember, in animation, one of the most important term that you need to understand is the keyframe term. So, what is keyframe? Keyframe refers to the first and the last frame of an action. Remember, the first and the last. That is the keyframe. The first and the last of an action. That is, let's say this is the example. If I want to move this double-sided tape from here, okay, to here, okay, meaning that I need to draw. If we are using the old way of doing animation, we have to draw every single thing. Okay, meaning I have to draw 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I need to draw 8 different images. But when we are using computer generated, it makes things much more easier. We just draw one. And the first action here, and this is the keyframe, and the second one is here, the last keyframe. So meaning that we only need to draw 1 and 2. And so between this image, okay, we are going to use a twinning process. So nowadays things are getting easier. Okay, things are getting easier for us to do or to create an animation. So the difference between the old ways of doing an animation and the nowadays how they create animation is the difference is in how much must be drawn by the animator and how much is automatically generated by the software. So that are the biggest difference. The always the animator need to draw a lot more images, but nowadays they don't have to do that. Okay, because most of it are generated by the software. Okay, things are getting easier nowadays. Next in computer generated animation is morphing. So what is morphing? So morphing is an effect in which a still or moving images is transformed into another. So the simplest example that I can show you, I believe you guys used to watch a movie such as a werewolf movie or a vampire movie, where from one actor, the actor from the human actor become a wolf. From a human actor become a Dracula, or it turned into something else. So the slow movement, the changing from one form to another form, okay, we call it a morphing. Okay, again, okay, you can watch here. Okay, then here are some example of morphing example. Right. Next, we're going to talk about the file format that used in animation. So some example of file format that can be used in animation such as .max, this is for 3D Studio Max, like .dir, or .dcr, this is for director files. This is quite old, this file. Okay, FLC for animator profiles, and .fla or .swf for flash files. Okay, there are so many type of file that can be used according or depending on the software that you are using to create your animation. Some animation tools that can be used nowadays is such as Adobe Animate and Autodesk Maya, Paper Vision 3D. There are a lot of examples. There are a lot of software that can be used that you can find outside. As a summary for this chapter, okay, so remember, animation is a visual change over time and add great power to multimedia. So meaning that this animation, you can use it in your multimedia project in so many ways, and there are so many type of animation. And one example is like a stop motion animation. You can use this kind of animation to be added in your project. And cell animation use a series of progressively different graphic on each frame of a movie film. Remember, cell animation uses a series of progressively different graphic, and the keyword is progressively different graphic. The next thing is computer animation has eased the process of creating an animation. So computer animation such as Adobe Animate, it makes things much more easier for us to create an animation nowadays. And there are so many file formats that are designed specifically to contain an animation. So I hope you guys will at least, okay, you can grab some of the information, some of the knowledge from this chapter. Alright, so if you do have any question, just contact me. Alright, so see you again in the next chapter. Alright. Bye-bye.
Prepare to fight.
Oh, camper, camper. Oh, camper, camper.
Sector clear. Roger that. But tonight, on this small planet, I'm in possession.